Today we're going to be talking about ratio tables. Ratio tables relate to both rates and ratios in a couple of different ways. We're actually going to use our knowledge of rates and ratios and find equivalent or equal rates and ratios to help us fill in a table. Let's look at this basic table. This looks like it's talking about wins and losses for a sports team. It gives us 6 and 8. It says that my team has won 6 games and lost 8 games. Okay, well, let's figure out how we can use this information to fill out the rest of the table. Just like when we were doing unit rates, we need to figure out how do I turn this number on the bottom into this other number that's completed. 8 into a 12. We can only use multiplication or division when we do this. So I know that I need to multiply 8 by something in order to get 12. Well, off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure what that is. So what we need to do is go backwards and use division. If I do 12 divided by 8, the answer will tell me what I had to multiply 8 by. 8 times 1.5 gives me 12. Well, this is just like a fraction in that I need to multiply the top by 1.5 because I multiplied the bottom. So if I multiply 1.5 times 6, it gives me 9. What this tells me is that, yes, my team originally won 6 games and lost 8. Well, if I played a couple more games, if I were to win 9, then I would lose 12 based on the current rate that I've been given. You can continue using this method to fill in the rest of the table. You always look at 2 numbers that have been filled in. I don't have a corresponding number on the bottom, so I can't figure out what to multiply by. But I have this top number and this top number, so let's figure out what do I multiply 6 by to get 24. Well, I know that one. 6 times 4 gives me 24. So I need to do the exact same with the bottom. 8 times 4 gives me 32. That means that if my team were to continue playing lots and lots of games and get up to 24 wins, I would likely have 32 losses that corresponded with that. Now, you might notice that down here at the bottom, I've left this blank row. Well, that's because one thing with ratio tables is that you will often see that you could do something like wins and losses. Well, I could fill in this blank with how many total games did I play? Well, if I won 6 games and I lost 8, my total would just be adding the 2, which would be 14 games total. 9 games and 12 games gives me 21 games total. And 24 games and 32 games gives me 56 games total. But what about when I had only played 7? What was my wins versus losses when I had only played 7 games? So I need to work backwards on this problem. What do I need to do in order to turn a 14 into a 7? Well, to turn a 14 into a 7, I know I divide by 2. Because I divide by 2, I need to do that to each of my other numbers in this row. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. That means using the given rate, if I had played 7 games, I would have won 3 and I would have lost 4. It is also not uncommon to see a ratio table that goes up and down. There's really nothing different about this. It's just rotated. It's just as if my sideways table that looked like this had been turned right side up. We do it exactly the same way. So let's work on this. I will say that one thing that makes things so much easier is if you would try and find a unit rate first. Well, a unit rate always has a 1 on the bottom. A 1 on the bottom, in this case, if I were to think of it as flipped, would be right here. So let's try and do this with a unit rate. Here's a number that corresponds with a filled in number, so I'm going to take and decide, how do I turn a 10 into a 1? Well, that's an easy one. I can just divide by 10 to turn 10 into 1. So I'm going to use the other number on the other side and also divide by 10. 16 divided by 10 is 1.6. Yes, it is okay for you to have decimals in your ratio tables. Is it our favorite thing? Not always, but it is okay. Let's see, other things that would be easy to help fill in this table. I can see right here that 16 and 8 are both filled in. Well, I know that to turn a 16 into an 8, all I do is divide by 2. So, if I want to fill in this box, I'm going to divide 10 by 2, which would give me 5. The reason that I had you do unit rate if possible is because it's easy to figure out how to turn a 1 into anything. I have a 1 here that corresponds with a 12. So, how do I turn a 1 into a 12? I multiply it by 12. That means I'm going to take my 1.6 and multiply that by 12 as well. We have calculators for this unit, so this shouldn't be that difficult. I'm just going to type in 1.6 times 12. My answer is 19.2. And then I just need to figure out one more. I've got a 20 here. None of these numbers go nicely into 20. I'm going to use the 8 because I think it would be the easiest. And figure out, well, what do I multiply 8 by to get 20? I still can't figure that out just by thinking about it, so I'm going to go backwards and say, well, 20 divided by 8 is 2.5. That means that 8 times 2.5 gives me 20. So 8 times 2.5 gives me 20, so I need to multiply the 5 times 2.5 to fill in the other side. 5 times 2.5 is 12.5. One of the things that you are going to try and do is make patterns like elementary school. Well, I add 8 here, so then I'm going to add 8 and add 8. It does not always work like that. Yes, sometimes they're nicely spaced out so that you can use easy addition, but not always. So we need to use our division and multiplication techniques in order to help us fill in the table. Hopefully doing this little example on 2 ratio tables will help explain things a little bit better on how you fill a ratio table in. Bye guys.